Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I am really excited to do my first book wrap up of the year, talking about some of the books that I have read the past couple weeks. I've read some really interesting ones and I'm really excited to get into it. So let's jump into the books. Now, you have likely heard so many people talking about this book. I finally read Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brena. And the first time I heard about this book was from Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, so I will make sure to link his channel down below. I have seen this book going around on so many people's best reads of 2023, and I was so excited to get into this book. So I think it may have suffered a little bit from being a little overhyped because I heard so many good things about this. This book is in a not so distant future. We have the prison system, and all the people on death row have the option to join this program where they can fight to the death for entertainment. And it can be a bit of a violent book, well, a lot of a violent book, because it's centered around this program of people fighting to the death for entertainment. And at first I thought, what am I reading? Is it just like a Hunger Games? Let's stick all the people in an arena and see who comes out alive. Is it just another one of those? But what I really, really liked was that it was using real statistics and real facts and pulling them in about the American prison and justice system and policing system and putting it throughout the book and giving it a lot of meaning and a lot of parallels to how things are now. For me, it really made me think about how the prison systems are set up and how instead of helping people and trying to rehabilitate and make people good members of society, instead we are basically training more hardened criminals. I thought this was a very interesting look at crime and had some really good writing in it. My only downside was the ending to this book. I just feel like for me, it wasn't that successful. Honestly, I was a little confused about what happened at the end. It took me a second, like, wait, what? Okay. And I didn't really find it super impactful. And so while the whole book had some really great things in it, like really good themes, could be pretty violent, but really an interesting look at the justice system, I do think that the ending fell a little flat for me. But other than that, it was a really good read. So this next book was a recommendation from the channel FayesParallelStories, so I will make sure to link that down below. And I picked up the book The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. And I credit this book with getting me out of a bit of a reading slump. The past few weeks, I have been reading but not really engaged and excited about it. And this book made me excited about it. This book is about the birth of New York City, but it's current day New York City, and New York City is a person, and each of the neighborhoods in New York City is a different person, and they have to get together to defeat evil aliens trying to take over, basically. Seems a little crazy, but I really liked the voice in it. Each of the characters had such a different perspective and different voice. We have Manny, who is the physical embodiment of Manhattan. We have Bronca, who is the Bronx. We have all the different areas. Iceland, who's Staten Island. And I really liked that. I thought it was really fun to see all of them. It was that superhero origin story. So I don't know if the plot was super original on some of that, superhero origin story, get all of them together to defeat the evil aliens, nothing crazy, but I really just thought the premise was very charming, and it really made me look at the city that I know best is Barcelona, and I love that, and it really made me think, while I don't maybe know who the physical embodiment of every barrio in Barcelona would be, there are some that I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly who Saria would be, and I know exactly who Eshampla would be, and I think that that's really fun. I just thought the premise was delightful. My big complaint with this book was I didn't really realize until the end that it's a series, and so I was so frustrated when things weren't wrapped up, but I am reading the second one right now, so I'll let you know how that goes on the next one. But I did enjoy this. Now, this one I did as an audiobook, and it was a very unique audiobook. I haven't listened to very many audiobooks that use like sound effects and background music, and it really made me feel like I was in a comic book or something. And I really liked that. I thought it was very unique. It was a little bit like listening to a story on NPR or something. There was just some of that old-timey radio show kind of thing mixed with a comic book feeling that the audiobook really pulled together well. Now, I am reading the second one, not listening to it, so that's a little different, but I did like the performance aspect of this book, so I enjoyed it. Was it anything too crazy deep? Probably not, but it helped me get kind of excited about reading, and I was really happy with that to start out my year. Get me something that makes me excited to find more books, and this did that. Now, Caitlin at Bandy's Books recommended the book As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Kato. This book deals with Syria, and it calls for freedom for Syria, and it has our main character who is a pharmacy student who volunteers at a hospital and is trying to save as many lives as she can. She's not really trained in all of the surgeries and everything that she's doing, but she wants to save the lives of all these people. But at the same time, she is not doing well. Her family has been killed. She is seeing things that aren't there, and she's trying to debate, does she need to get out, or does her duty lie with staying in Syria and trying to make it better, and what does that mean for her? And this has a bit of a romance in it. It is young adult, but I didn't feel like it was very juvenile at any point, but it did really deal with a lot of difficult subjects in a good way. I think it was really well done, and really helps call attention to events in Syria that many people don't understand. And having this aimed towards a young adult audience is a great idea because it makes it very accessible to lots of people. And so this was a beautiful book. I really recommend this. And I think where the author was very successful was in making characters that had flaws, weren't perfect, but were very, very relatable. And I was very much rooting for them. Now, I did another young adult book. I picked up All My Rage by Saba Tahir. This is following two teenagers that are best friends, and we have one who lives with her uncle because her whole family was killed in an earthquake, and she desperately wants to go to college. Then we have the other who lives with his parents who own a motel, and his mother is very sick. And it is following their friendship as well as his mother's story in the past. And I think that this is an easy book to feel very invested in the characters. I wasn't sure if I loved it, and the last two chapters really kind of saved it for me, left things off on a hopeful note. While this is a young adult book, it tried to tackle so many things that I feel like the author could have maybe pulled back a little on some of those in order to not make me feel like everything was happening to these characters, right? I think if it was maybe a book aimed towards adults and it had been, the author had gone into more depth on each of these issues, it would have worked. But here, I tried to write a list of some of the things, okay? It had tried to deal with addiction, violence, abuse, racism, generational trauma, illness, death, assault, crime, the justice system, bullying, I don't know. There were so many issues that it tried to deal with. And I'm like, could we have maybe just not had the dad be an alcoholic, or not done one of these things to the extreme so that I could have focused? It just felt like a lot. Oh, and actually this is happening to this character too. And this, and this, and this. And it felt like a lot. Well, even though it felt like a lot, the book did grab me, and I did need to know what happened. So I was reading this book, and I was not quite to the end yet, and my husband's like, all right, we gotta go to bed. It's late. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I need to know what happens to the end of this book. So I did Google the ending, and then I was like, okay. Then I went to sleep, and the next day finished the book, and I felt much better. But it's one of those where you're like, you know, when there's so many bad things happening to the characters that it's like squishing your heart, and you're, I just need everybody to be okay. This is awful. And I feel like this gave me a lot of that. I think I do applaud the author in trying to tackle some difficult subjects in a way that is very accessible and relatable to so many people, because I found it very easy to connect with this story, with the characters. So that is what I have read the past few weeks. I don't typically read so much young adult fiction, but that was a great way to get me back into books, with some books that were a little bit more easily digestible. And I am really excited for this coming year to talk about some books. I have the longest TBR right now, watching everyone's videos of their 2023 wrap-ups. I have so many books I'm really excited to get to. So I will be back soon with another book wrap-up. And if you have any thoughts on these books, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you all on the next one.